Welcome. Fuck you. I'm kidding.
Oh, leave it in.
I will. How dare you cough?
I'm sorry.
Shame.
I'm sorry.
Welcome to Risha. All I want is a good intro. I don't know why it's so hard.
It's you.
Welcome to Vampires and Mermaids. I'm Erin.
I'm Risha.
And we cannot hold it together.
Woohoo. Oh, no.
We're just going into this.
Woohoo.
That's okay.
Yes,
We're just
hello.
jumping in.
Hi.
Hello.
So, I'm going to talk about things with vampires.
Woo, woo.
Yay. And so this is another kind of legal one that we're going to talk about, real life dealios going on. And this is the magia posthuma.
Was that Latin or what we got there?
Yes, I believe so. Yes. But it's from 1706. It was a treatise done by Charles Ferdinand de Schertz, who published it in the town of Olmütz. I'm not sure if that's right, but it's in Moravia. And he dedicated it to Prince Charles Joseph of Lorraine, who was the bishop of Olmütz and Osnabrück.
I know all of these things. Yes, of course.
Yeah. He was also a well-known, eminent lawyer. So Charles Ferdinand de Schertz did this treatise and tried to do it in the vein of what a lawyer would do because he wanted the prince to accept it. And this treatise examines a large number of vampire cases and discusses the decapitation and burning of the body of a suspected vampire.
Oh, so this is kind of witch trial vibes.
Yeah, but
Excellent.
specifically vampires.
That's cool.
In 1706. Because there had been so many reports of vampires, and according to de Schertz, many of them were from trustworthy sources, it was not unfeasible to assume that these creatures really did exist, and that decapitation and burning of the vampire corpses to prevent it killing the living was therefore justified. So that's kind of what the treatise was about, and saying, like, allow people to decapitate and burn people suspected of being vampires.
Wow.
And there is a case I'll discuss that is under this umbrella, which it's called the Blow Vampire.
Okay.
And it was reported by de Schertz. So the issue was that there was a dead herder from the village of Blow or Blau in Bohemia, and it could drain the energy of people by simply calling their name.
Ooh.
And so it's an interesting thing to have the voice of a vampire is also vampiric in this case. And also, again, the calling of a name we see come up in different vampire lore of people calling another person's name as part of the vampire hunting, I guess. And all of the people that the herdsman called died within 8 days.
Ooh.
Yeah. Which gives me "you're gonna die in 7 days" vibes.
Yep.
But the Blau villagers dug up the body and drove a stake through it, and they drove it deep enough to where the body was held to the ground.
Oof.
And while they did this, the herdsman laughed, and then that same night, extricated himself from the ground where he was staked. He just got up with the stake through him, and then killed more people. And so eventually he was caught and handed to the hangman, who put him into a cart to be burned outside of town. He then burned to ashes, and the village's infection, as they called it, stopped. De Schertz says the same method was used elsewhere, and wrote this treatise called the Magia Posthuma to say this should be allowed.
So to justify. Wow.
Right?
I mean, that is terrifying. If I staked someone through the heart while they were laughing.
Yeah.
I
was like, ooh.
I'm not about that either.
No, but magia, I think magic.
Right.
Posthuma is
Post-death.
yeah, or after human, I think.
Oh, sure. Weird. I like that. That's fun.
Yeah, but that was really short. But that's
well,
that's
this is
what
probably
I
going
got.
to be a little bit of a short episode, to be
All
honest.
right, that's fine.
This is another one brought to me by you.
Yeah.
And brought to everyone else by me and brought to me by you. You gave me, or you borrowed me, this lovely book called Mysterious Tales of Japan by Raffi Martin, illustrated by Tatsuro Kuchai.
Oh, I have no idea.
We'll put a picture on our Instagram, so go ahead and check it out there. And I'm going to be reading the story of Kogi. I'm sorry if that's wrong. It's Kogi. I don't know if this is the one you originally picked for me.
It wasn't, but I'm excited. I haven't read through it.
Okay, good. Well, I'm going to read it to you. It's like 4 pages, so it's not terribly long. And then I have some little fun facts at the end. Once there was a priest named Kogi. He was fond of all living things, but fish evoked a special tenderness in his heart. Many people thought this odd. Fish are, after all, cold creatures. Still, even in Kogi's paintings of birds and flowers, a stream or a river or a lake was sure to appear. And if you looked carefully in the water of that stream or river or lake, you would find at least one fish. To refine his paintings, Kogi made it a practice to go nearby lake shores and pay fishermen to release their fish into a large tub where he would observe the fish carefully and sketch them. Their fluid motions and unceasing movement, their silvery scales and flowing fins captivated Kogi. But after a time, he began to feel their fear and their yearning to be free. So when he had painted or sketched the fish, he would put them back into the lake. Naturally, as a follower of Buddha, Kogi ate no meat. But now he no longer ate fish. The very thought pained him. One night, Kogi lay down and fell at once into a profound sleep. He seemed to grow unbearably hot. Somehow he found himself by the lake shore. The water looked so cool and inviting, he removed his robes and plunged in. It was wonderful to swim. After a time, he noticed how effortlessly the fish swam through the water. Despite himself, he began to envy them. He had always felt that fish, while beautiful, were lesser creatures and that human beings were naturally superior. But now he began to see that in their own element, a fish's freedom and ease might be greater than a human's. After a time, a great golden carp rose from the green depths of the lake. "Friend Kogi," the great carp said, "you have shown us many kindnesses. We would like to reward you. For 3 days you can be transformed and become a fish. Would you like this?" "Very much," Kogi answered, anxious now to know the freedom of a fish in water. "Wait here," the golden-scaled carp said. "I shall return." And with a swish of its tail and a turn of its flowing fins, it descended once again, disappearing down into those mysterious green depths. For a time, Kogi floated idly. Then he looked beneath the surface. Far, far below, something small like a golden dot was rapidly rising through the green water. It grew steadily larger and larger as it rose, until at last the great carp once more appeared before him, its golden scales shining in the sun. "Priest Kogi," the carp said, "it has all been arranged. The master of the waters has agreed. For 3 days you will be one of us, but take one warning to heart. Indeed, you must promise you will heed it." "I shall do just as you say," Kogi assured the golden fish. "Do not eat any food from a baited hook." "No, never," he reassured the golden fish. "Very well," the golden carp said. "For 3 days you will know your desire. Swim free, swim deep. Farewell, friend Kogi." And with a swirl of fins and a whirl of bubbles, the golden carp was gone. No longer did Kogi need to rise to the surface to breathe. No longer did he flail and struggle through the waves. Instead, like an arrow, he sped effortlessly wherever his heart chose. Down and down he plunged into the deepening darkness of the lake's depths, where golden cities of coral and jewels, or so it seemed to him, awaited. Perhaps those magnificent cities were just formations of stone draped with seaweed, but to Kogi, as a fish, they seemed glorious. He swam to the surface and, during a storm, rode pounding swells in the blackness of the night. Oh my goodness. Lightning forked across the sky, thunder rolled. Exhilarated, Kogi once more dove down deep to where all is calm and still. At daylight, Kogi swam along the shore. He saw the fishing boats at the piers. He saw merchant vessels and men busy loading and unloading cargo. He saw shopkeepers opening their stores in the narrow streets near the wharves.
Yeah, the wharves.
Okay, thank you. I've read that in my head and never thought about that. I don't know what that word is. In the narrow streets near the wharves. He saw workmen setting forth, children running and playing, mothers strolling. Later, he watched picnickers in the park and saw ships hoisting anchor, raising sail and leaving port. At night, he watched as the moon slowly rose and the torches were lit, burning and smoking along the water's edge. He saw all these things with new eyes. All seemed strange to him now, wonderful and new. And so it went for 2 enchanted days and nights. On the 3rd day, Kogi found that he was growing hungry. After a time, it seemed that in all his life he had never known such a driving hunger. Then, as he swam, he grew aware of a delicious odor permeating the water. So wonderfully enticing was the smell, he had simply had to swim towards it. At last he came to a little hook drifting before him. A bit of food was wrapped around the hook. I am a man, Kogi thought. You could never be caught by such a thing. What's more, I know this fisherman. It's Bunshee's hook. Of somehow I should become caught, I can simply tell him to release me. So Kogi foolishly thought.
The hubris of a fish.
So well put. But yes, indeed. Compelled beyond all reason, Kogi now rose to the bait. He bit and was caught. He tugged and thrashed, but the hook was set and he was pulled, dangling in agony from the water.
Oh,
I know. Help, Bunshee, he cried. Set me free. It is I, Kogi the priest. But Bunshee seemed to hear nothing. Reached out like a giant, slipped Kogi from his hook, and dropped him into a basket. A fine fish, Bunshee proclaimed, though I have never seen a fish whose jaws move so. Bunshee set off at a rapid stride and came to the palace of the vice-governor. By now Kogi could hardly breathe. His skin seemed to be on fire, yet he saw and heard everything clearly. Bunshee presented his catch to the cook, who proclaimed, Yes, it is a beauty, and bought the fish. Then the cook carried Kogi, as a fish, through the main room, where the vice-governor was cutting open a perch with a silver knife while his brothers played Go. Your dinner, my lords, he said, holding the great fish aloft. The brothers cheered in the kitchen. The cook set Kogi down on the chopping block. He lifted a knife. No, no, Kogi cried desperately. I am Kogi, the priest. Do not. The knife descended. For an instant, Kogi felt a great searing pain. Then he knew no more. And that's the end of the book. That is how it happens, but no, it's not the end of the book. I was going to be like, and that's all. No, we still have a page and a half, don't worry.
What the heck?
And then he knew no more. Slowly, Kogi opened his eyes. He was laying in his own bed. A monk of his temple was sitting beside him. Master, exclaimed the monk, you live! How long have I been here? Kogi asked weakly. 3 days, master. You fell into a coma. We could not rouse you. Even your heartbeat was still. We all thought you were dead, but as a faint warmth could still be felt over your heart, your funeral was held off. I am grateful, Kogi said, sitting up, for then I would be dead indeed, but you would have missed hearing a most interesting story. Call the others and summon to Vice-Governor Taira, T-A-I-R-A, Taira, and his brothers from nearby. You will find them playing Go and drinking tea. Bring their cook as well, and bring the fisherman Bunshee. What I have to say concerns them all. When all had gathered and tea was served, Kogi told them this strange story. Master, Bunshee exclaimed in honor of Kogi told what he was in horror when Kogi told of his being caught. It's true. The jaws of a large fish I caught this morning were moving. It seemed to me as if it were speaking. I noted that, but no sound came forth. You lifted me off the hook, did you not? Kogi continued, and you put me in a basket, and then you carried me to the house of the vice-governor. Yes, master, Bunshee said, growing pale at the memory. It is you, as you say. I could not breathe, Kogi said. My skin burned, and such a yearning for the cool water filled my mind, as I shall never forget. The vice-governor's brothers were playing Go and drinking tea. We really need to point out that they were playing Go and drinking tea. Mm-hmm. Yes, that's right, said the vice-governor and his brothers. And you, vice-governor, were eating a perch, cutting it open with a silver knife. Your brothers cheered when the cook showed them the fish he had just brought for the dinner. Ah, the vice-governor said, that is all quite true, but how could you know? My friend, this is no mere fable. It is all true. I was there. I really was the big fish Bunshee sold to your cook. When Bunshee lifted me from the basket and showed me to you, I was the fine fish. I saw you. Oh, master, Bunshee said, now weeping, I sold you.
Oh.
Master, the cook said in terror, I too saw the fish's jaws moving. It was a great fish, master. It did look like it was trying to speak, but I heard no words. Please, master, forgive me. Yes, Kogi said calmly. I remember that too. I was crying out, don't do it, don't kill me. I am Kogi the priest. Oh, master, what shall I do? If what you say is true, I have murdered a disciple of Buddha, an unpardonable crime. Do not fear, Kogi said. It is over. You could not know. No, how could you possibly know? Then the knife descended. I felt a terrible pain. The next thing I knew, I awoke here. So are the details of the story, correct? They are, master, all agreed. Then, Kogi murmured quietly, almost to himself, It is, as I said, it was no dream. The guests left, the vice governor and his brothers swearing that the fish's body would be returned uneaten to the lake. Indeed, the next day, a funeral service, officiated by Kogi himself, was held for the fish and its body was given back to the waves. After that, Kogi returned to his ordinary life and painted fish whenever time permitted. His paintings had been great before, but now they were so lifelike, people said that if one of Kogi's scrolls ever fell into the water, the painting of the fish on it would surely swim away. In fact, many years later, long after Kogi's death, a cart carrying his scrolls to a nearby temple happened to tip into the water. The fish paintings on the scrolls all suddenly swished their tails, turned their fins, and then did, indeed, slip off the paper and swim away. So unfortunately, all we can know of Kogi's miraculous skill must now be found in this story.
Aw.
I just thought that was so
cute.
I know, so I didn't think that was the one you wanted me to do, but I did that one instead.
Yeah, that works.
And then I have just a little bit, I just looked up some fun facts about koi.
Oh, cool.
Koi are cool.
Why not?
And we went with koi because they described the golden fish and it's Japan, so it sounded very koi fish to me.
Sure.
So I don't know if they actually necessarily were. So koi fish. Koi, first off, is really a common name for the common carp. So they are actually a carp. Yes. Yep. So they are native to the Black, Caspian, and Aral seas. When they kind of ended up over in Japan is kind of debated. They date back to the 4th century in China. And then I was seeing things like they date back to the early 19th century for Japan, the 16th century in Japan, the 17th century. No one really seemed to know. I'm going to go with 16th century.
Sure.
That's what I found the most of, but it was pretty split. So if you know more about that than me, please feel free to let me know. The Niigata, Niigata prefecture started keeping them as a food staple because they were so high in protein. So they're actually really great for long winters.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, kind of fun. They were used in rice farms, so it's kind of a symbiotic relationship where the fish will live below the rice paddies, and this is still done today, which is really cool. So the fish poop will fertilize for the plants, and then the plants help eat the algae and keep all the rice plants happy. And it's a really cool symbiotic relationship.
That's cool.
Right? Yeah, it's
like
really
that.
neat. I didn't go too far into that, but definitely check it out.
Poetic.
Right?
Beautiful.
And there's some really cool videos on it on YouTube, so definitely go. If you want to fall down a rabbit hole, it's a fun one. There are also some really fun videos about koi fish breeding and the koi fish farms in Japan, and that's fascinating. So yeah, good little rabbit hole to go fall down. Let's see here. So yeah, they were used in rice farms, and when they were used then, they still represented what you would picture as a common carp, so they're pretty much brown. But rice farmers started noticing there were color variations, and they started selectively breeding them. So they would collect up the ones that looked cool, breed them, find the cool babies, breed those, keep going. Fun fact, selective breeding is a form of genetic modification. So that's why I always think it's funny when people freak the hell out about whether or not their food has GMOs in it. Because pretty much all corn you eat is technically a GMO, because corn 3,000 years ago did not look like it does now. That's from selective crop breeding, so cross-pollination and doing things on purpose. It's not and there are different types of GMOs, obviously, but sometimes it can literally just be selective breeding like this. So
is it kind of like a sped up form of natural selection?
Yeah, kind of. Yep, it's breeding for specific desired traits. So maybe that wouldn't be bred for in the wild because, for example, those interesting colors of the koi fish were mutants. Those probably didn't keep naturally occurring because they were more likely caught by predators.
Oh, sure.
So they didn't have as much hybrid vigor, meaning they didn't reproduce as much before they died. But people think it's cool, so then they create it and kind of push it to go a certain direction. So yes, exactly, very similar. So a little fun thing to point out. Koi fish can get really freaking big, anywhere between 2 to 3 feet and weigh about 35 pounds.
Wow. Yeah,
so no wonder they're such a good protein source too, because you could also get a ton from one fish. Everything I saw said that the average koi fish would live anywhere between 25 to 70 years.
Wow.
But there are totally records of them living up to 200.
Wow.
Yeah, and the oldest recorded koi fish was 226 years old. I thought only turtles could do that.
Right?
Like the big tortoises. So mind blown. And I just thought that, and again, maybe the fish in the story weren't koi fish, but the golden fish and all that makes me think at least the golden one was. And for some reason, that just puts more weight to it. That's like, oh, that could have been like 150, 200-year-old fish.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I thought that gave an extra level to the story. In Japan, they represent luck, prosperity, and good fortune. And then kind of as I mentioned before, koi fish technically are the same as the common carp. So they are considered the same species and everything. They're just selectively bred for those colors. Now, as a kid, always grew up hearing that goldfish were koi fish.
Oh.
That is not true. Apparently, that's just something that I was ill-informed about. They are also a variety of carp, though. So they're like the koi fish cousin.
Even the like bubble-headed ones?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yep. So goldfish, there are different selections like that. The bubble-headed, there's one that starts with an R. That's really cool, and I'm blanking on what it's called. The fantail, all kinds of different varieties. But goldfish are actually derived from from selective breeding. So specific selection from Prussian carp. Now, they have been selectively bred so much and so differently, and the varieties have changed so drastically, they've actually become their own separate species.
Wow.
Yes. So very cool. And then there are different breeds coming off of that. Like you said, like the bubble-headed or the bubble eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are interesting. And those, you can get into like welfare topics.
Right.
Some of them take it too far, blah, 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 blah. But
Their eyes pop out.
right.
That's
but
terrible.
But they look really cool.
Yeah.
But it's also problematic.
Yeah.
So yeah, just kind of some interesting fun facts about koi and goldfish.
Can I talk about goldfish for a second?
Please.
Because it's a traumatic story for me.
Oh, no. Do I blame your brother for this one?
No. So I was really into the like coin toss things at fairs and everything.
I'll have a follow-up story on this.
Okay, and so I got a couple of goldfish from it one year, and I brought them home. Got an aquarium, got the filter and everything, and the little plant in them, and their food, and they were doing great. And then I had named them after characters from Bonanza. So I had Adam, Haas, Little Joe, Mr. Cartwright, right? And I've forgotten that last part, the last name. And then RL, which is Random Lady. Because there was always a random lady in the episodes.
I love that.
That never came back.
Even as a kid, you're like, I see this pattern.
Right? And all of them like died except for Little Joe. And so Little Joe was just, in there. He looked a little sad. And so I was like, well, I mean, he's been in here with all of his like other fish. And so maybe he's lonely. And so I went to the store and I bought another goldfish. And that one was Hop Sing, because that was the cook. And Hop Sing ate Little Joe.
That is traumatic.
That's really sad.
That is really sad.
And then Hop Sing lived for at least 2 or 3 more years.
So I also, apparently this is like a canon event, right? As a
It's
kid.
gotta be, yeah.
I also had a thing for the carnival games where you throw a coin. My mom and I actually talked about this not that long ago, so she's gonna be listening to the episode and be like, Erin, we just talked about this, and probably tune off. She doesn't want to hear it again.
Aw.
I was very good at that. I'm not an athletically inclined, coordinated person, but for some reason, baby Erin was getting those fucking fish. I was really lucky because I grew up in a household with a lot of pets, and I loved that, which meant we had extra aquariums. Now, did my mom have the want to have her kid bring home random shitty fish from a carnival and have to set up an entire freaking filtration system and all this shit? No, she didn't, and I don't blame her one bit for that. However, I kept doing it, including the time she was literally like, Erin, I don't care. I went to the carnival, or the county fair, which had a little carnival, with my cousins. She's like, I do not care what you do. Just please do not bring home a fish. That is the only... obviously I had other rules. I was like 10. Like, yeah, don't do drugs and all that shit. But like, ride whatever rides, play whatever games. Do not bring home a fish. So naturally, I won 2 fish. And then also...
So now you just right into it.
Yeah. Well, I'm just going to play the game, and I probably won't win. Gets 2 fish. I also made sure to buy her a bag of cotton candy because my mom loves county fair cotton candy. And so I was
bribery.
like, hey, Mom, look, here, I'm so cute. I brought you cotton candy. I love you so much, Mama. Also, can you set up a fish tank for my fish? I don't really remember how that conversation went. I don't think she was thrilled. But God bless her. Like, she could have gotten mad and just flushed them or just said, no, fuck you. She set up a whole tank for these fish. I also named them after TV show characters. Mine were Phineas and Ferb.
Aw.
Phineas lived, I think, like 2 years.
Okay.
And before this, I had done this multiple times before where I'd win fish. And my cousins and I'd stay at their house overnight. And we'd like not acclimate them to water. We'd like dump them in a tank thinking, I'll just get them tomorrow and then bring them to my mom's house. And we were fish murderers on accident. We didn't try. But we were stupid. Or I'd get a fish, bring it home, and it would live for like a week.
Yeah.
You know, just
because they might have been old already or sick or something.
Right. And we didn't have the best
traumatized.
water. Yeah. And, you know, we'd do the water additives and stuff, but like we had well water out in the country.
Sure.
So that's probably not great
Not as
for them.
filtered,
Who knows? Yeah. But Phineas lived for about 2 years. And eventually I think I had a snail named Perry. Like Perry the platypus.
Aha, but Perry the snail.
Yeah, Perry the snail. I always wanted to give him a little hat. So
it's just a snail. You got to get the hat, so it could be
Right.
Perry the snail.
I love that show so much. So my story about Ferb, though, is he continued to live so long. I actually left for college, and my mom still had Ferb. Somewhere in there, my mom ended up getting... DNR, don't come after us. We ended up getting these 2 baby painted turtles that one showed up. We were at a horse event in the middle of a field. Like there was no water for like a couple miles, and there was just this baby turtle that my mom found and was like, well, I don't know what the fuck to do with you. So long story short, we had a 100-gallon tank with 2 baby painted turtles living in them for a while. And my mom thought, hey, let's add Ferb to the turtle tank. It worked for a couple of weeks, and then they went after him. My mom saw them go after him, sprinted across the room, ripped the turtle and the fish out of the water, and had to pry the turtle's jaws open, and she saved the fish. Ferb lived. So she set him up a little retirement like rehab tank. It was a little smaller so he wouldn't strain himself.
My gosh.
So Ferb had his own little tank for the last couple years of his life. And 7 years, I think it was 7 years after I won this fish at a carnival, I was out shopping with some friends in college, and my mom called me. And she was like, Erin, sweetie, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, oh my God, the cat.
Oh no.
It's the cat. And she's like, no, honey, you know, Mr. Whiskers is fine. I'm like, the dog. And she's like, no, all the dogs are fine.
All the dogs.
Erin, Ferb is dead. And I was like, oh. I'm like, how long have we had him? She's like, I think it's been like 7 years. And I was like, holy shit. Like, that's actually, like, it's
longevity.
sad. Right, like, we were sad, obviously, but it was also like, you know what, bud?
Yeah.
You've seen things. You fought some turtles.
You've been in the jaws of death.
Been in the jaws of death. You saw me go from prepubescent to college. That fish saw a lot. So rip Ferb and Little Joe.
Little Joe.
This episode goes out to Ferb and Little Joe. And I put a like in memory of and on our Instagram.
I'll see if I can find a picture.
Oh my God. I'm gonna have to text my mom. Mom, do you have a picture of Ferb? I guarantee she does.
Actually, I think I only have a picture of Hop Sing the murderer.
Oh no. Can we put like a wanted? Make it like an old Bonanza poster.
Oh my gosh.
That's adorable. We still hit 30 minutes. Both of our stories were short, but we were like childhood trauma about goldfish. Excellent.
Perry the snail. I love it.
This makes me want to get a Perry. Oh God, what was it? Now I'm second guessing. Was it Perry the snail? No, it was Perry the snail. But then Perry the snail died.
Oh.
And then I got a plecostomus. Which big scary word. It's not. They're the algae suckers. They're the ones that have like,
I love those.
Yep, the suction cup face.
Yeah.
So then I had Perry the plecostomus for a while, I believe. I'll let you know if I'm wrong, and my mom tells me.
I also got a hermit crab from those
those
little coin thingies. It was Tiger Stripes. That's what I named him because the shell was tiger striped.
That's cool.
Yeah.
My auntie got me some hermit crabs from like a mall store where they had like the painted shells. Hermit crabs deserve so much better.
I could hear him just scuffling around at night in the sand. And my mom kept on coming in and being like, is Tiger dead yet?
Oh my God. Jesus.
The one time she came in and didn't ask, I was like,
is he dead?
Yeah, he was dead.
Oh.
Yeah.
I've learned that hermit crabs are not good captive pets.
Oh.
They can live for like 10 years in the wild or something.
Really?
Yeah, and they consistently don't live past like 3 or something in captivity.
I don't think he's 1 or 2 years.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, I've learned they're
But
not.
he got a new shell.
Oh,
he did
cool.
move into a new shell.
That's fun.
Yeah, his little arms over. Yeah.
Oh,
Cute.
I've really fallen down hamster TikTok.
Oh, no.
Where people have like amazing enclosures for their hamsters. I mean, like yards of enclosures, like giant acrylic enclosures with like 2 feet of substrate for them to dig. So apparently they like to dig, right? Yeah, I've really gotten into that. And part of me is like, I want to fall down that rabbit hole. I'm like, Erin, you do not need another expensive hobby. And apparently there are things called ghost hamsters. I learned this morning while I was taking my morning poop. I fell down the hamster rabbit hole. And this lady was saying she has ghost hamsters, and she has this big, beautiful enclosure. And she's like, it's okay they're ghost hamsters because I really just enjoy setting up their enclosure and knowing they're happy and healthy. But she basically was like, yeah, if you want a friendly hamster, like, don't get a hamster because you are either going to get a really friendly hamster or a hamster that just doesn't give a fuck and doesn't want to be around people. You. Yep. And she's like, that's why I have a ghost hamster, because they just don't want to be around me. Or you get a really freaking aggressive one. And I had a really aggressive hamster. We probably don't have time for that story.
No, same.
Yeah, okay, so next week maybe we'll share some hamster aggression stories. Little pet corner.
Woo!
Okay, next week, tune back in for some aggressive hamsters.
Woo!
With that, go follow our Instagram so you can see our pet fish.
Woo!
Once again, in memory of Little Joe and Ferb.
Yeah. Blasting Hop Sing's face. Shame on you, Hop Sing.
We're in a doxer. All right. Stay thirsty and keep wet.
Cover your necks and watch your tails.
Obscurantism and obfuscation.
Orally observed, gentle listener.
Gentle listener.
Gentle listener.
Gentle listener.
Obviated objects of oblivion.
Obambulating about.
Offered unto you.
Offered unto you.
Offered unto you.
In the Tapestry Radio Network.
TapestryRadio.org.
From our fancy to yours.